Three, two, one. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining for another History Live interview. Today, we have a very special guest indeed. Many of you may recognize him from his films and TV shows, such as Law and Order, Canterbury's Law, and General Hospital. However, some of you might actually recognize him from his documentary shows on the Smithsonian channel. Adam Mastrelli is the host of Secrets Unlocked, and he's successfully made the shift from actor to documentary maker and businessman. So Adam is here tonight, and he's going to tell us all about this and more. So hi, Adam.
Hey, Curtis, I think the most impressive part of that intro was your pronunciation of my last name, which is incredible. Mastrelli, it's very good. That was very
good. Grazie.
Prego, prego.
Because I was going to actually ask you, do you say Mastrelli or is it like Mastrelli?
Look, it depends, right? I mean, I'm in Florida, so right now, I think if it's kind of like when you say, the word, if you would say, I want cheese on my pizza, and you say Parmesan, and you kind of like add in, you could just say Parmesan. So I think that when I'm in the United States, I would say Mastrelli. I think if I'm traveling in Italy, I can say Mastrelli, and it will be easier. The Adam then becomes the more difficult part because Adam. So
Adam.
Adam, right?
Yeah,
right.
They can't get my name right. It's like Curtis.
Curtis, exactly.
Yeah. Right. So Adam, you're American, obviously.
That's right.
Of Italian descent, Sicilian. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. My father is Sicilian. My mother is Irish, mostly Irish. A little bit of some other stuff mixed in there on her side. And then on my father's side, we had the fortunate, led by my mother, we had the fortunate kind of occurrence of maybe about 8 to 10 years ago to get a dual citizenship. So now I'm a dual citizen of the United States and Italy with 2 passports. So, that was prompted long ago by trying to learn the language and learn it through school and from my father's side of the family. Yeah, absolutely. Sicilian from a small seaside village called Acquasanta, which is like 15 minutes northwest of Palermo.
Okay, I've never been to Acquasanta. I will have to look it up.
Yeah, Sicily is one of those places that if I hadn't visited, I would like to. But look, I'd like to go back to. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, it is. It is. And so now you say you've got the dual citizenship, but where did you grow up? The US or Europe?
Sure. Grew up in New York on Long Island. Parents from Brooklyn and Queens, originally from Manhattan, then moved out to Brooklyn and Queens. And we just made it a little bit further out growing up in Long Island, my sister and I. And we're really traveling as a family kind of from when we were 8 and younger, summer trips to Sweden and Germany and Belgium and, all these things. So I think at a young age, I got a taste of what like summers in abroad kind of meant. It wasn't just like a couple of days of a vacation. So I kind of really enjoyed always being a little bit of the outsider, going to these cultures where I had to kind of do some catch up. And it was fun.
And living for, like you said, a summer in Europe, it's quite a different thing from being in the US. And I think it helps people to sort of like evolve and develop.
Yeah. So summer as a 10-year-old or something like that, or a 7-year-old is different from summer when you have all these responsibilities. It seems to go on forever when you're younger, and as you get older, those memories make you, oh my God, I spent so much time there, even if it was only 6 weeks.
Yeah, for sure. And Americans have very long summer holidays, so.
That's right.
Yeah. So as an Italian, are you interested in the history of ancient Rome and, for instance, Grecia Magna?
Yeah, so I would say ancient Rome, yes. And I'll give you the story. And my sister is really the mythology expert within the family, going back for her PhD at the New School, or at least applying within that, her master's. So ancient Greece, I would leave to my sister, but for me, the story was always about Romulus and Remus. For some reason, when I was a kid, I always really liked that story of Romulus and Remus and the founding of Rome. And then I later found out that there was a whole wolf connection with Romulus and Remus, and you'll see those statues with the wolf, which has special meaning for my family in a really, really interesting way, which is probably episode 2 of this show. But yeah.
No, the history of Romulus and Remus is very interesting. We actually have one of those wolf statues here.
Really?
In Florence at the museum. So
beautiful, beautiful. I would say that being in Rome and seeing the hustle and bustle, and it's pretty incredible. But I could definitely go with being a student of ancient Rome more. But
a lot of people think that the history of ancient Rome is like a little complicated. From an Egyptologist's point of view, we are used to having dynasties and things are going like that. It's very interesting, like, family lines. In Rome, it's a lot of people killing people to get in charge of the place. So it can be a bit confusing, right?
And I think that that's also pretty interesting when you look at like the expansion and contraction of territories that were kind of being conquered and not conquered across different groups before and after like the Romans were there. And my funny bit on, I don't know if you've seen the Life of Brian, Monty Python, where they're like protesting the Romans and they're saying, "Go home, Romans." And they're like, "What have the Romans done for us?" And they did do the aqueduct. And they did do the sewage, and and the streets are safer, and so there's these very list of like kind of incredible things that Roman civilization brought, I think, during that time. That is a whole other thing that I would love to talk about and get interested in.
Exactly. But apart from now history, when you were growing up, did you always want to become an actor, or was history one of the main passions when you were younger?
Yeah, I think it was not the acting. The acting, I think I was always a little bit of a ham in my personal life, like kind of funny guy about town and in school and not responsible enough, right? I wouldn't get caught. But I think then a lot of if you remember, either the Indiana Jones movies or Amazing Stories that was done by Steven Spielberg. Some of these, there was a TV show called Voyagers, where they were time traveling back to the future. So that I grew up in that era of time traveling throughout history. I always wanted to like dive into the pages of a book and like go back and do those things. So I think it's less about the performing when I was a kid and more about actually wanting to be Indiana Jones and go explore these places and go on adventures and dive into the history and learn a little bit more about it, not just from a intellectual, like learning about the facts perspective, but what would it be like to go back and safely hang out in ancient Rome and not die of a bowel disease or something like that.
I wonder what that would be like to actually go back to
right.
I would like to go back to like around the time, obviously, of Julius Caesar, just to see how they treated Cleopatra, whether she was actually known as like the emperor's whore, or whether people actually respected her. Just get the idea.
What's your take on that? I mean, based on what you've kind of researched or what you know?
So from my point of view is like, I feel that the ancient Romans were not very nice in a way towards women. Women didn't have many rights. So for them to see Cleopatra, a strong woman, ruling one of the biggest empires in the world at that time, which is Egypt, I think that's why they didn't like her, because of the prejudice that they already had going in their own society.
Yeah.
Just
agree.
Cool. one of my ideas. But where would you say is like one of the first ancient sites that you visited?
I'm going to say, I don't know if it's the first that I visited, but when I saw this question, I looked it up and I thought it was the new I think it's New, right? The one in Ireland. So this is like Newgrange in Ireland in County Meath that is older than Stonehenge. And when I visited that, we visited as a family, I had no clue. I guess I just always thought, it was Stonehenge was, the oldest UNESCO heritage site. And to have something that was older than Stonehenge that I got to set foot on was just incredible. And to be in the catacombs there, it's in Ireland. It's just wild. It's wild to know what was there and to just have a quiet moment in the corner with yourself.
Yeah. Because Ireland is actually quite a magical place, actually, when you think about the history.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
then, of course, oh, sorry, please.
No, continue.
I really enjoyed in Sicily, just to go back to complete the family picture. As you can tell, I'm a family person. Is both Syracuse and also the Valley of the Seven Temples area in and around Agrigento, which some of the best wine I've had in my life was there. And just that valley with all of the temples it was gorgeous. And it was just so incredible. I almost don't remember facts. I just remember the feeling of being there. It sticks with me. Exactly.
I visited Agrigento in 2019. And we were the only people there. So it was a really strange feeling. And it had just rained, like heavy rainstorm. And all of these pottery shards were coming up from the ground. And like, I'm not an archaeologist, but I was like running around picking up things like, okay, this is a handle from a pot and this is that. So Agrigento, I feel, is a very special place, even though I didn't know too much about the history of it, like you said as well. Just being there, you get that feeling.
Totally. Without a doubt. Yeah.
And I mean, obviously having the Sicilian connection, you probably felt it more.
I think so. I did. It's just nice to, it's almost like so idyllic. You get done. They really do make a good job of you do the tour, you have some fish, the wine. It's tough not to fall in love with these places, Yeah.
Have you visited Pompeii?
I have not.
You have not.
Yeah, I have a lot of things post COVID to get into, I would imagine.
Yeah. I should be going to Naples in June.
Okay.
End of June. So I have a friend, she owns a chateau in France. So we're busy chatting about maybe doing a documentary together. She can come because she's very into Pompeii.
You should. I'll watch it. When you go to Pompeii, I'll be watching your documentaries. See how they go.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Of course. Yeah.
So tell me, when you were growing up, who inspired you?
I mean, the easy answer is my parents. But and my sister, obviously, just from being around them all the time. We're such a close-knit group. But I'm going to go a little bit off topic on that and say there was a book. It's less of like the person and more like what happened. So there was a book in high school called The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway that my quasi-British, I guess he's British, but he'd spent time in the States a lot. So he had a little bit of that, leftover Madonna accent, kind of half British, half American.
Elizabeth
Taylor accent, exactly. And he introduced us to this concept, this novel, this Hemingway novel that I hadn't read, and just some of the images of being just like drunk in Spain and running with the bull. It's like, it's the first time it's just came alive for me that, you could like just go and not work and be a writer and kind of go, it just felt so visceral, so like alive. And so
you had the images in your head, right?
Completely. The images of the pages of that book in addition to when I was younger and traveling and some of those movies, I think this explorative version of myself, there's always a little bit of a give and take with, a little safe sometimes, a little bit of an exploration. So, negotiating that is always a little bit interesting. But I would say that book had a big impact on me as like a inspiration and a role model of what's possible.
Yeah, yeah. And I've just been looking behind you.
Yeah.
I have this board which says, "Tonight I will dream about," and then.
And that's right. I would love to take full credit for this, but this is I did not write that. That was written by the person I'm renting from. But it's essentially, I think it's a good idea. So this is "Tonight I will dream about," and it says family, CrossFit, travel, my friend Bryony, and real sleep. I didn't write those with the exception of my friend Bryony, but
okay.
I do like the idea. Another thing that inspired me as an adult was when I was traveling in Malawi and India was this book, The Last Lecture, by Randy Pausch, who was a Carnegie Mellon computer science professor who died of a pancreatic cancer. And he had this whole speech on, and he left behind a wife and 3 kids. He had this whole speech on achieving your childhood dreams and helping others achieve their childhood dreams. Mm-hmm. And I think if I'm really honest of like the thing that I want on my tombstone, it's something like and I don't always do a good job of this, but that he always made time for people that wanted to achieve their, something that lit them up, and that he did the best he could to achieve his childhood dreams and help others achieve their childhood dreams, because those are important for us. Those are what made us happy as kids.
Exactly. I like that thought you had there about helping people, reach their childhood dreams. In terms of history, I try and get younger people interested. So I like that you have that idea.
Like, yeah, I mean, what was King Tut thinking about when he was 8 and becomes, a pharaoh? Like, probably like, I don't know about this.
Yeah,
it's kind of, I wanted to play, right. I wanted to play outside. I'm not so sure about this whole being the ruler thing.
Yeah. And the biggest thing probably like, I have to marry my sister. Yeah.
That was like an aside.
Older sister.
Right. Older sister. Forget it.
Yeah. So I know you have done many documentaries on ancient Egypt, but also some on Persia, the Bible, the Greeks, Stonehenge.
Yeah.
The list goes on. But what area of history do you find most interesting?
It's such a good question. I think the one I'm going to say is the one I thought I wouldn't say many years ago, which is the Bible history. I find, and I'm in a group on Saturday mornings. This is a separate segue, with like a Jewish Torah study class, and I'm not Jewish, and possible Jewish, but I didn't grow up Jewish. And through a series of events, this group has been meeting in person, and then in the time of COVID since 1955, every Saturday, led by a 95-year-old rabbi. The young woman on the call is 82. So it's just, and I never really, I just always thought Bible stories were allegories and stories. And when we did some of those documentary episodes on Secrets Unlocked about Jonah and the whale and the Garden of Adam and Eve, and I started, and you start to question, like going to, places in Turkey where this, and it just became more real. Yeah. And then I said, okay, well, say you're a person that is into biblical scholarship, and then also you believe the stories, and it helped me bring those stories to life and set them in a way of what was actually happening during that time of Jonah. I was just like, oh, that's the one where the guy gets swallowed by the whale. Mm-hmm. I never thought to think about Nebuchadnezzar and any of these like other people surrounding it, and just to like dig into that a little bit of really the most famous story ever told around the time of Jesus, and this, even the Ark of the Covenant, right? We'll come back to that. But I actually, the whole Ark of the Covenant disappearing from the pages of the Bible, and then potentially reappearing in Ethiopia, and this whole concept, on the Torah study class, I'm like reading in the Old Testament about the Ark of the Covenant. I'm like, oh, we did an episode on that. And then you start to hear things from 95-year-old rabbis that I would never have had that communicative layer with him without this. It becomes really important for the people.
Biblical history is really interesting. Like you said, it's not something that I would usually be into, but I think during lockdown, I've always been into, for example, the Exodus. As a big Ramses II admirer or fan, I always want to, disprove Cecil B. DeMille's movie, because most of that's based on fiction, and show, okay, did the Exodus happen? Who was the Pharaoh? Not Ramses II, because we have certain clues. And also, we have clues from Israel, which also disprove that it was Ramses II with the building of, I can't remember the name, the temple.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm very interested in. You should check out on YouTube. There's a guy, Jakobovich.
Okay.
It's got a Sichma Jakobovich, very difficult name to pronounce. Naked archaeologist, and it's all about biblical history.
Yeah, and you'll turn me on to that, and you'll send it to me. But we just got out of Exodus hilariously while in the group reading, and to hear the words, and God hardened Pharaoh's heart, like really the Pharaoh never had a chance. If you're reading into that, right? That I'm going to make it difficult so I can show these types of things and the history of that, and leaving Exodus, and the parting. The other, just a final point on this. The Sea of Reeds, when you talk about Moses parting the Red Sea. So the Red Sea is a massive body of water, and then I looked it up, and they mention in the translation it says Sea of Reeds. The Sea of Reeds, which is the river, and you go back. There's historical context for like Napoleon leading kind of his armies across that same stretch because the water actually recedes. Yeah. And I was like, now this starts to be interesting, other than me seeing Charlton Heston go, split the water in a very comical fashion. So I think that's had a big impact on me, is taking some of those allegories and researching. And truth, I'm less concerned with the truth. I'm just like, what if?
Yeah, I like that. And I also like the truth. A lot of the times people have this perception that Jesus was born in a barn. But in ancient Israel, where they would have kept animals was more like a cave. Yeah. So when they arrived at the inn, it wasn't really that there wasn't space. It was because this woman was giving birth, and birth was sort of like a unhygienic thing for the ancient Israelites. So they sent her into the cave, into the barn, for privacy, not because there was no space, into this cave. And I was discussing this with someone the other day, and they said, well, here in Italy, we have a song, and they sing about Jesus being born in the cave. In the English world, we hear a barn and we see the whole picture,
Yeah.
So it's interesting, yeah. But you've produced many documentaries for Secrets Unlocked on the Smithsonian Channel. But how involved are you in the production? How much say do you get about what subjects you present?
Yeah, in the case of the Smithsonian Channel, very little, because those were a reboot of an original 30 episodes called Secrets. And what they wanted to do was kind of take those episodes and reboot them with with me hosting and kind of adding some more context. So very little in the case of the Smithsonian, but I loved all of them, and getting to learn how to pronounce Hoa Hakananaia was on Easter Island, right? The Hoa Hakananaia, saying that without messing up to camera all day is impressive.
Yeah. But I really do. I have to say, I appreciate the way that you tell the stories.
Yeah.
In the series. For myself, I like to make stories more relatable and not so complex. So I like the way that you presented that. We need younger people to get interested, to start loving history. So how exactly did Secrets Unlocked come about? Did they contact you? What was that about?
Sure. And just to play that back, the big credit goes to the writers of those episodes. That's Alex Hoove and Jason Williams from, I think they started their own production company, but at the time it was CRW Productions. They're fantastic. So before that, so this actually all goes back to childhood dreams. So my childhood dream was to become a National Geographic explorer in residence. And maybe like 2012 or something, I joined a group called the Failure Club, where you take on a project that you most certainly will fail at. As an example, my project in a year, without being a 30-year paleontologist, is to become a National Geographic explorer in residence. And of course, at the end of the year, I failed. But the point is, did you actually fail? I had to try to, reach out to explorers. I got to meet Louise Leakey and talk about the Kenyan Rift Basin and some of these very famous explorers that I still keep in touch with. And from that, long story short, I did a video that these producers saw, and they said, I think he'd be a good host for a show we're pitching to the Travel Channel. So we did a pilot on the Travel Channel the year before Secrets Unlocked about George Washington, so Secrets of George Washington. And they didn't pick up that series, but the Smithsonian, long story short, saw us, saw the team, and said, you know what, we want you to do it. So it's kind of like, if I really take it back, it's all about pursuing your childhood dreams. And kind of this engineering serendipity will kind of come along the way.
Yeah. And do we really fail at anything? I mean, you have to learn from it. So if you learn, does that mean it's a failure? No.
Exactly.
You learn something.
Trust me, I feel everybody feels like a failure at some point, but once you get your head around it, you're like, okay. Steve Jobs, right, would say everything, all the dots connect in the rearview mirror. So.
Yeah. Well, if I had to count how many times I've been told no.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. I've been told from people about like getting documentaries out there and things like, no, we don't want you to host that. So I just was like, screw it, I will produce it myself. I took a leaf out of Bettany Hughes' book and produced it myself. I ended up with like a series on Amazon Prime. And
love it.
So
good for you, Curtis. If that's not a childhood dream inspiration, I don't know what is.
Exactly. Just keep going.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So which was one of your favorite secrets that you unlocked?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to give you the obvious one, but it's the Ark of the Covenant. Actually, there's two. One is the Ark of the Covenant, and because I got to reenact and basically play a fake version of Indiana Jones on that TV show. Like I literally got to open a kind of a quasi Ark and play that joke. So I'd say that was great. But
was that the one where you had the crowbar? And
the crowbar, exactly. Yeah. There's another one that I really liked that that was unexpected for me. I just got into boating this last year with my family, and boating kind of looks easy. You see it in Florida, and it's like, oh, we're going to sit on a boat, just like let's boat. And then quickly you take a boating class and you get out on the water and you realize it's not that easy. And we did an episode on the Vinland map, and like the Vikings with these maps of the sea. And when I heard that like the Vikings really didn't use maps, that they were just like, it was like kind of oratorially, just like, well, they're using the stars. They're like, hey, Olaf, I need you to go to this star and make a right. It's like, That is just incredible. I mean, when you really look at what those people had to go through to boat in this world with no maps, I can GPS on my phone. I can barely get around in a car, let alone an ocean of where like fighting you every time with storms in the dark with, it's just incredible, absolutely incredible. So I think that was one of my favorite secrets, just to see the sheer ingenuity and really how advanced societies were in the past that we don't give enough credit for.
Exactly. And I think bringing awareness to the modern public about these ancient civilizations, I think that's very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there are many ancient secrets out there all around the world. What is a story that you feel needs a bit more telling?
I thought about this. I'm going to lean into my amazing sister on this one. She was doing a kind of a book, kind of a story paper, I guess, through her master's program on Dorothy Payne Whitney. And I guess I hadn't really realized how impactful. It kind of goes back to your Cleopatra example, right? I think that, women's history might get like a month, right? It's like Women's History Month, and just whatever. It's like, here's a month. I think hearing the story of Dorothy and how impactful she was in the founding of that school, the new school, and how she was, doing trade through China at the time. One of my favorite explorers, the woman who had the record for around the world in 80 days, she took Jules Verne's test on and had the world record at the time, was a woman named Nellie Bly. And so this story of like, not just like the first woman to do something, or like the Amelia Earhart story, but like these like nooks and crannies stories of like women through history are like really fascinating to me.
I was just thinking Amelia Earhart before you said that. That's
and it's right. It's easy. Everybody's like Amelia Earhart, Betsy Ross, and at least Cleopatra. These big names. It's just like, it's kind of like secondary cities. Like now everybody's discovering what it's like to live in Austin or St. Petersburg, Florida. It's like, once you get the big level of the main female explorers, now it's like, okay, double click a little bit deeper for those names and some of those stories. I just think it would be awesome. It'd be awesome.
Yeah. There's a lady called Seti. Have you heard of her?
Sounds familiar, but no, tell me.
She lived in Egypt. She's a British Egyptologist, and she believed that she was the reincarnation of a priestess from the reign of Seti I. And she moved to Egypt, got married to an Egyptian, had a child, and she ended up living literally one house away from the Abydos temple and working there her whole life until she died.
Yeah.
And she wrote down like so many of her thoughts. And what's incredible is recently people have been discovering things, and a lot of stuff she wrote down has been proved correct, that she had no way of possibly knowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I love that.
She's a mystery in her by herself,
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. You'll send me more documentaries. I have stuff to watch this weekend.
I'll be your new Netflix and YouTube advisor.
You don't even know. Woodside flicks, something. I mean, it's just like, yeah, it's really, really great what you do. It's really cool.
Thank you. I wouldn't be getting to you if you weren't doing what you do. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
So tell me, how did you get into being an actor?
Yeah. So as I said earlier, I was always a little bit of a performer as a kid, telling jokes on tables with massive bow ties bigger than my head, kind of like that vibe. And in college, I started performing my senior year of college. And then I was like, I'm good at this. Like I can sing. I feel fun on stage. It's a really cool way to explore insecurities, fears about myself, about being on stage, interacting with people, etc.
Because
so
you get to become somebody else. Yeah.
without a doubt, without a doubt. And I think you get to challenge parts of your personality that you hold dear in a safe way, without having massive ramifications. Like, you don't have to become a serial killer to, like, you know what I mean? You can go play one on stage, or all these things. So you can explore, especially the dark sides of your personality in that way. I remember doing a show in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, where I was playing like a very heavily racially charged character, screaming at, folks in the audience. And some guy pulled me aside after the show and said, "Hey, I hated you in that performance, but you were good." You know what I mean? Like, I hated you, but you were good. So these types of things pushed me and challenged me. And that would be, racially, right, sexuality, sex, all of these hot button issues, death, kind of push you when you're younger, which I think more people need in safe ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I think acting is a good release if you know how to do it right.
Something like that. So, and plus it was fun. I was good at it. I mean, I always loved musicals, going to musicals when I was a kid. My Into the Woods is my favorite musical. The Wolf is a great character. It's just fun. It's nice to every once in a while think that I could break out into song in my everyday life and have it work out. I haven't as much. I think I could probably do it a little bit more often. I used to do it all the time, and I'm doing it a little bit less. So challenge accepted. Challenge accepted.
You need to do that. We'll secretly put up some cameras around your apartment.
Yes, Songs Unlocked. It's just a karaoke thing with myself, and I'm forgetting the woman earlier who said she was into karaoke.
Oh, Vanessa. Yeah.
Vanessa. Right.
No, I spontaneously break into song, but it's not that good. So yeah, it's usually Frank Sinatra or Celine Dion. So
okay. Yeah. Both great calls.
Exactly.
Both great calls.
I do that, very well.
Right.
So what would you say was one of the most fun sets to be on? And which set do you feel made you the most nervous?
Yeah, so the most fun set to be on was definitely the Secrets Unlocked set. I mean, if you've ever wanted to know what it felt like to be like a Hollywood star, that's the closest I'll ever get, probably.
Oh, you've been in some other things.
Yeah, but this was fantastic. An amazing set, great, really, really professional. And this is a performer, right? This isn't behind the camera. As a performer and a host, to have the whole set, to have the continuity, have the props person with the continuity, script person, the DP, and your job is to make sure that the content lands. That was an impressive set. And as a performer and a host, I really take that. Not only the delivery of the lines very important, but nobody wants to work with somebody who's like constantly upset and going, I just like, treat it like a professional. And so some of the best feedback I got were from the professionals on the other side of the camera saying you're a joy to work with and you're really hitting your mark. And that makes me feel really good.
Yeah. You don't want to be Marilyn Monroe, look great, forget your lines every 2 seconds.
Marlon Brando famously would not remember his lines. That's why you'll see him in The Godfather, looking around, always he's got his lines over here. He's, fading off the camera. So pain in the butt. But the most nervous I was on my first national commercial in California. It was a UPS commercial, and it was on the set of Mystery Men, which at the time had just been filmed there. It was like a big Ben Stiller movie. Cobblestones, massive Hollywood. I mean, like there was a lot of people there for a big national commercial, and they were throwing a soccer ball at me, and I from about 40 feet away, and telling me to like chest trap it, and I was like, okay, I got this. And so they threw this soccer ball off of a roof, and it hit my chest to the tune of a cavernous, resounding Cambrian explosion of something that just everybody goes, oh, and it was like such a bad moment in my life. I was like, okay, can we just throw it a little closer? So I was very nervous on that set. My first big thing.
Why not just CG the ball,
That's what, now they can do that. Sure, CG it away. But I was a good soccer player, so.
Yeah.
I went for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And you
Yeah.
worked with Juliana Margulies. How was that?
She's great. She was really easy to work with. I mean, it's her and, you know, Aiden Quinn, and those folks were just really cool. They hit their lines. You know, you don't want to mess up too much. Do your thing, and they'll edit the rest together. It's kind of like, just don't take too long. Don't try to act, especially in TV shows. Just get it done.
Yeah.
Unless you're the star of the show, then you can take as much time as you want.
Yeah. Yeah. So we spoke a little while we were arranging the interview. You mentioned that you'd lived in South Africa.
I did. I lived in South Africa really once, but I'd visited before. So I lived in South Africa 2012, the year of 2012, for my day job, for my work, outside of performing. And I just fell in love with it. I ran Comrades twice.
Yeah.
1 year I succeeded on the down, and then I failed on the up run. And I fell in love with the people, Cape Town, you know, some of the sayings, all that good stuff. It's just an incredible place.
Give me the most South African thing that you've learned.
So I do want to have a conversation in a second about now and just now.
Yeah.
But we'll have that now. So just now, I'll explain that my most favorite South African phrase was, I kept seeing signs that said like "lekker," and I was like, what does that mean? Like, why is it? Are you telling me to lick something? I didn't quite get it. And then they said it's like "lekker," like cool, like okay, right? Like "lekker," like good on you. And so I said, well, give me a context. And my friend Carl at the time, we were like at the beach, you know, hanging out. He's like, you just say like "lekker, my bro, lekker." And I said,
the accent.
"Lekker, my bro." Yeah. And so I said, okay, that I get. So now whenever I'm saying hi to him online, or if I see a South African, I'll say like "lekker, my bro." It's kind of like my way to get into that South African dialect.
Yeah, my goodness.
That plus I remember hearing, you know, Mandela was in Xhosa, and so trying to learn like the Xhosa with this was always a challenge, but I was like, if I can get one of those, at least I'm in the Mandela vibe here.
Yeah, it's pronounced Xhosa.
Xhosa, right? Exactly. I was close. Sorry, that was a bad joke.
No, that was very good. But so for the people who aren't watching, we keep saying now.
Yes.
They don't understand what the heck that means.
I'm going to give it my American version of what I think it means, and then you can correct me. So somebody told me, hey, Adam, we're going to meet downstairs now. Oh no, they said just now. We're going to meet downstairs just now. Mm-hmm. And I said, great. And so I went downstairs, and like 30 minutes later, they showed up. I said, well, where were you? They're like, well, I said, we're going to meet downstairs just now. I said, yeah, just now. And they're like, no, just now is like 30 minutes from now. If I had said now, I would want you to come down now. And I said, wait a minute. So I think now means now. And then just now means like a little bit in the future, undetermined amount of time.
So just now can mean between now and like an hour away.
Exactly.
And then now is like 10 minutes or so.
10 minutes, right.
10 and 20 minutes. And then you can say like, if someone says, oh, I need you to give me that report. And it's like, okay, cool, I'll get it for you now.
Well, that's right.
No, that means whenever we get to it.
It's so great. It's so great.
Yeah. So we don't really like, if we want to do something now, like literally like right now, we'll say right now.
Wow. I see that. Maybe that I wasn't in right now territory. I was just in now and just now territory.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. I cracked up about that for the longest time. It's so funny.
I lived in Austria for 6 months, and the lady I was living with, she was born in South Africa.
Yeah.
And her boyfriend didn't understand this. So we would be like getting ready to go out for the day, and she would be like, okay, so we're going to leave like just now. Like he's like standing by the door. It's like, no, not yet.
Right, right, right. And my other favorite saying, more like a thing, was somebody told me, go get a sundowner at Cafe Caprice. So I always like that idea of Cafe Caprice at Cape Town and getting a sundowner. I didn't know what that was until I figured it was a drink. Now I got it.
Exactly. You have a drink while you watch the sun go down.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But have you heard of Aish?
Say it.
Aish.
Ish. No.
Aish.
Ish.
Aish.
I kind of get what it sounds like, but no, I haven't.
It can be good. It can be bad. It's like whatever. So like when that football hit you in the chest, you can be like,
chest.
Aish.
Ish. I guess that's kind of universal language. We say that. Ish. Oof.
Yeah, that's like our favorite one. Everybody, whatever language, because we have 11 languages, whatever language you speak, Ish,
that's right.
Like the one everybody knows.
That's right. That's right. I love South Africa, man. It's so great.
Yeah. So tell me, you're not just an actor, as you say, and a historian, but you are also quite a busy businessman. How do you manage like to balance out your life?
Well, I think it comes in, if you think of it like a wave function. Sometimes it's super busy, sometimes it's a little bit more relaxed, but it just will do this every once in a while. And I don't mean up and down like emotions, I mean more like frequency. Sometimes it's just really busy and sometimes it's not. But I'd say overall, I think I like most of the things that I'm doing. So it generally doesn't feel like work. I remember, so my day job is working for a technology company. And I remember when I stopped like acting full time, they're like, we're going to pay you money to basically work for this company. And the difference between working as an actor and having to hustle and as a filmmaker and all this stuff, and everybody being like, can you do it for free, on spec, all this, and then having one company say, we're going to pay you a good amount of money to kind of do like one thing. I said, I'm like retired. This is much easier. This is much easier than, Sisyphusian pushing a boulder up a hill in entertainment. So as much as I love entertainment, I think it can be, it was for me a little draining at that time, which is why I kind of added a few other things. And I was fortunate enough to have the entertainment follow me along, and it came up, and I did some work just now. So just a little bit in the future.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good to have something more permanent, and then obviously you can have your hobby and your interest. That I think if you can make your hobby and your interest your job without having to work too hard at it, I think that's great. So it's
right.
It followed you.
Right, and it followed me, and also, as a performer, sometimes I guess it could be anything, but I never want my work to determine like my happiness. And I think a lot of times when you're younger and just trying to come up, you're like, especially in entertainment, if you don't get a gig, or if you get a gig and then the gig closes or something like that, it takes a toll on you. Yeah. So it's nice to have it be something that you enjoy again, like you did as a kid, childhood dreams.
Exactly. Because sometimes, filmmaking is not as fun as people think it is.
It's not as fun. I mean, we did an episode of that George Washington episode, and I had to do my part so many times because the dang ox was facing the wrong way. It's like, you try telling an ox to face, head on with the camera and not run away with bells on. It's like, I'm not an ox wrangler. I can only do my bit.
Exactly. Who was it who said never work with children and animals?
P.T. Barnum, maybe. That's my guess. Is that right? No, I don't know.
Yeah. But as a filmmaker yourself, what is a misconception that people have about films and documentaries, and how do you feel that we can change it?
The first thing that comes to my mind on films and documentaries, A, it's not as easy as it looks, and B, it's not just capturing stuff in order. It's not just documenting stuff. We did a documentary in 2008 on the Native Americans on the Dakota Sioux Reservation. And did a good job of capturing the story of like a very famous mass execution in the history of the United States, but there was no conflict. There was no like, it was just a history report. And it's kind of like reading a history report is one thing, but like getting into the nuts and bolts of whatever the conflict was, with what's the narrative, I think is much more compelling than just saying this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. So I think it's the job of the filmmaker not only to capture what happened, but also then have that narrative that captures people and brings them in, and what's the angle that makes this thing interesting to talk about and to listen to.
Like the opposing side, definitely.
Exactly. Yeah, some sort of conflict.
Exactly. I always say to people, wait, let me get this right. You can't make history by sticking to the rules.
I like that.
So
I like that.
Yeah, I tell that to a lot of my Egyptology friends, because a lot of them are very scared to say things or say something that's not maybe totally accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel you have to say these things. So to show that opposing side in a film or a documentary, it's necessary, definitely.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Cleopatra wasn't like, do you think it's no, I shouldn't say that. You know, she's probably like blasting through. I just picture her blasting through stuff. I mean, she had enough stuff in her way. It's tough to be tiptoeing around too much.
Exactly. Do you think she listened to anybody? No. I mean, she doesn't even listen to like her brother. She killed him, she drowned him.
Right.
Yeah. So, as an actor, do you feel that it helps you to present now the documentaries in a more relatable way?
I think it's actually candidly the non-acting part of me that helps me to do that in a more relatable way. It's actually my day job in technology. Have you ever seen The Big Bang Theory, the TV show?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe people on the call have seen it. It's essentially like a super deep physicist having to like constantly being misunderstood, and his friends, and there's a whole thing with technology and even history, having that land for people. So my job within technology is going as deep as I can, technically, then putting it into my own little world and then explaining it to Curtis as an Egyptologist who has no semblance of what it means to run a server on, a Linux enclave, whatever.
I've tried to investigate what your other work is.
Right. But so explaining cryptocurrency to an Egyptologist, I'd have to understand it to a certain level. So a lot of my job is a translator, and then explaining Egyptology and history to somebody who doesn't understand that in a relatable way. I feel like my day job greatly helped me do that. Not so much the acting. The acting helps on the presenting to camera and not having heart palpitations and having stamina to do that over and over and over and over again. It's very tedious.
Yeah. So now I have a very personal question.
Okay.
I have also experienced, people invading my privacy, contacting my friends and my family that, it's not really, shouldn't be out there. If you want to speak to me. And so I've had, bad experiences with invasion of privacy. So how do you deal with people getting too personal, wanting to ask too many questions? How do you deal with that? Apart from this interview.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're much more popular than I am. I don't usually have that problem. To be honest, I don't know why. I never feel like I'm getting asked to, maybe like once or twice. It doesn't really feel like a big problem for me.
Yeah.
Personally. Yeah.
But you're able to keep work and personal life separate, right? Yeah.
Well, yes and no. I think a certain part of me likes them to be blended a little bit, and maybe that's something that maybe I shouldn't do as much. But I I try to just share decently openly about some of the stuff that I do. You know, my day job knew about my show. My show knows about the day job, you know, so I try to cross-pollinate a little bit. I try to leave I'll give you a good one. Put this on the tagline of the show. I try to leave the secrets to be unlocked for the TV show.
And you even did the voice.
And the voice. I came home and I was talking to my sister and she's like, you're doing that's what we did for quarantine, was drink and hilariously watch the show. And so I would somehow, while the show was on and I was watching it again and I would talk to people, I would talk to them like this. And they're like, and my sister says, you're doing the voice again. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm absolutely not doing the voice. And I couldn't even hear myself. It was very funny. So.
That is hilarious. I cannot believe you went into the voice. It's so funny.
Exactly.
I was interviewing Bettany Hughes the other day, and it's so weird because I thought that the way that she presented on the documentaries was like, that was her documentary voice. Turns out that's her speaking voice.
Incredible.
So, and I said to her, I was recording a voiceover for a documentary for myself, and I was getting into the Bettany Hughes voice in my head. So, how did you develop that voice to be like, secrets unlocked? Secrets
unlocked. I think I really don't know. Look, it comes from it kind of comes from the text. And there's only so much you can do with, like, in 43 BC. I mean, you can't like casually throw down Nebuchadnezzar and, some of these people from history. You almost have to, unless you're doing like drunk history or something. When you're doing it on the Smithsonian channel, there's this like air of presentation I feel like they wanted. Yeah. I think if you're doing drunk history, it's probably a little bit different, but.
Drunk history, my goodness.
Yeah.
So you've actually worked with many Egyptologists on Secrets Unlocked. Who impressed you the most, and what was a piece of information that you felt really like made a difference?
I'm going to be very boring, but it's the Ark of the Covenant episode. Ralph Lee and I'm just fascinated with that whole Ark scenario. And Ralph Lee and I had an email exchange after that. Then we had a big Zoom call, and Ralph Lee's story of him, he's reading like thousands of year old texts in like the original Aramaic and, Ethiopian. And I'm like, this is mind boggling. I can, I speak Italian, but I'm still on my second turn at Rosetta Stone, Japanese. It's a struggle. And to really learn those languages and to be able to read in them and parse through scrolls, I mean, it's just fascinating. So I think that what people have to go through in their professional lives, that, nobody's beating down Ralph Lee's door. Really, I mean, he's really sitting in a library researching his whole life, and then he walks out, goes to the pub, nobody knows who he is. And then I'm happy that he got on that show, and other historians and Egyptologists that work so hard in the archives, that they get their moment to say, oh yeah, in the last 25 years, I've been in the library learning, ancient Greek and speaking Aramaic by myself. I mean, this is just incredible internal fortitude that in a culture of clicks and TikToks, it's nice to give credit to people that spend a really, really good chunk of their time trying to understand and parse through something. So just the hard work of all of the experts. I'm the guy who stayed at the Holiday Inn Express and gets the credit, but it's really the people, who do the work over the hard work over decades, that deserve it.
Yeah. So where do you see the history? Where do you see the future of history in the next, let's say 10 years?
I thought about this question when you wrote it. So there was a friend of mine who did a project that was kind of like a living museum that doesn't exist anymore, but that I kind of liked, which is, so say, Derek on the call, Derek travels to Pompeii, and he has like either an audio clip or a video or something, and he uploads it somewhere. And you're also there, Curtis, and you know the name of a restaurant. So Derek would say, and I, with my geolocation, I show up in Pompeii and I'm like, I wonder what's going on there. So I turned it on and Derek is like, hey everyone, it's me, Derek. I was just here in Pompeii. I ate at this great restaurant. If you're there, try to find Curtis. He might still be there. So it's kind of like the Twitter for like real-time history, but not just based in the stories, but also in what was like this person I don't know, Derek. What was his favorite part about Pompeii? Maybe he wants to go direct me. Do I go eat at this restaurant that doesn't have a menu? So I think it's social history. It's kind of like where everything's headed. And it could also be gamified history, which I quite like. The idea of, if Keith wants to go on a vacation and he's there, can he play a game when he's on, like kind of like an adventure? Can he play that game while he's there and learn at the same time? Again, I guess it's the return to childhood dreams. And what games does he like? Does he like them in person? Does he like them online? Does he like leaving kernels for somebody else? I mean, something like that.
Yeah. And if you could go back to a period in history, when would that be?
My God. Do I get the caveat that it's like, I still have the internet and cell phones and all that stuff, or you got to go back and use the technology that was back then? And like air conditioning?
Let's keep it interesting. Let's say you've got a time machine. You can keep all this stuff.
And you can keep all the stuff. I mean, the one that's coming up for me is a little bit of like a Wild West feel. I think maybe I went on a Wild West trip when I was a kid. It's amazing how much it's based in your life, the things that you say. But I like the idea of a Wild West type scenario where I'm, turn of the century.
Days.
What?
Pioneer days.
Yeah, pioneer days. I mean, sitting around a campfire, learning how to ride a horse, open range, something about that. Constantly having somebody playing a ukulele or a guitar behind me. I mean, something romanticized about that.
And I'm sure you could tell great stories around the campfire with the voice.
I think so. With the voice, the campfire voice. And if I had to go another time, again, maybe like I would become a knight. I always thought like being a knight would be very cool, like kind of a knight of the round table minus, I think I would be more like the Eric Idle knight that's like running away and not wanting to get killed probably, but still, I think I would enjoy being a knight. It'd be fun, kind of fun.
Are we going to see more ancient history documentaries from you?
Definitely. Whether on the Smithsonian or somewhere else, I will always be questing. So, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, if you want the somewhere else, come to me.
I was going to say, we'll do it. We'll do a whole thing on Egyptology goes to Italy, right? I mean, that was another talk about another secret that I really liked. I didn't realize that there were gladiatorial battles in York, like in Northern England. I always thought that gladiatorial burials and battles were in the Colosseum. And to hear that there was a whole gladiatorial, ancient, gladiatorial, kind of ecosystem happening in York in Northern England was incredible. So, yeah.
And if you could go back to your younger self, what would you tell? No, what would younger Adam think of Adam today?
Oh, is this supposed to make? Is this where I turn on the tears and I cry part of the episode? Exactly. I think. What would younger Adam say to older Adam? I think he would, okay, the word that's coming up is prodding. I think he would keep prodding me and saying like, yeah, okay, you're doing good, but don't forget to play. Don't forget to, like, just more like reminders. I think he would say, I'm proud of you. You seem to be doing close to all of the things and how you wanted to live, but keep going. Like, don't forget to play. This constant reminder of like, keep it lighter.
Lekker.
Lekker. Keep it lekker. And keep exploring, and you don't, and that you don't always have to know the outcome, but playing is enough. Keep playing.
Yeah. Well, Adam, this has been so much fun chatting to you.
Same, Curtis. Awesome idea. Thank you. And thanks for everybody who showed up, including my family. Look at that. That's real support. Friday afternoon.
Exactly. So, Adam, before we end and take some questions from the audience, I have a couple quick fire questions for you. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Favorite ancient site?
I think that's going to be the one I said earlier, which is Newgrange.
Okay. Favorite place in Italy?
Oh, it's such a Milan.
Favorite artifact?
Favorite artifact, Ark of the Covenant.
Mm-hmm. Favorite pharaoh?
I thought about this one too, and I'm going to say Khufu because of the Pyramid of Giza.
Yeah. I've never had Khufu as a favorite. That's favorite ancient figure?
Favorite ancient figure. Alexander the Great.
Good one. No. Biggest fear?
I want to say like heights, not a mass, unsecured heights. I'm okay in being in high buildings, but like unsecured heights,
No.
ropes courses, stuff like that, it's a little testy.
No thanks. I went up the Eiffel Tower in Vegas and I was like dying, and that's only part. So I get you.
Yeah.
Proudest moment in your life?
Completing Comrades, finishing an ultra marathon at barely completing a regular marathon. I couldn't believe I did that.
Yeah. And finally, what makes you happy?
And my family. My mother, my father, my sister, and Dolce, my sister's dog. They're all on the call. That there she is. That to me is probably the most important.
The heart there from Tara.
The heart. That's from my sister. I mean, we're here on a Friday, and they show up for me, and I'll always do that for them.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, Adam. So thank you so much. It's been
Thank you, Curtis. This is awesome. Oh, we did it. We did the same hand movement.
There. Exactly. It's the Italian in me coming out with the hand gestures.
Yeah, and my challenge to everybody on the call is like some version of this this childhood dream thing of like, what would I love that question, Curtis, of what would your younger self say? But my younger self saying to your younger selves is keep playing and find something that you want to explore today and go do it, even if it's like a new article or whatever, a new way of doing something. Kind of fun.
Yeah.
I'll take that on too.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Adam. I'm going to hand over to our audience members to see if anybody has a question. So what I do is I say whoever unmutes the quickest, go.
Okay.
Oh, Seti, you haven't got? You've usually got a question. Anyway, I have. This has been absolutely great. I've really enjoyed this. What I was wondering is, who writes the narrative for the documentaries? Because I've heard real howlers. One that really jumps out at me is about 4 years ago, I was watching one, and the guy announced that Ramesses III was the son of Ramesses II. Well, there's about 200 years between them, so but people would believe it. This is the thing, and it sounds plausible that Ramesses III would be the son of Ramesses II. Yeah, it's for anybody who might not know, it sounds possible.
More like
who actually writes them.
So the answer for the Smithsonian Channel is the Smithsonian Channel has all of that content, and they're responsible for fact checking the content for the voiceovers. When I'm on camera, it's a combination of this guy, Jason Williams, and Alex Hoove. And Jason has a great backstory of being one of the, he discovered like the lost treasure in Iraq during the Iraq War, which was like incredible. He's like the real deal archaeologist. But I'd say, like, for your question, it's Jill, right?
Yeah.
So I think the authenticity of like Ramesses III, Ramesses II, and dates, that's up to either the network, if it's on a network, and or the if you're doing a documentary yourself, you know what I mean? So it's up to you. And if nobody's fact checking you, yeah, it's tough. It's tough to say.
Didn't fact check that one.
Exactly.
But even
sounds like
museums, can get it wrong, Jill. I have been in museums where they will have a name next to a statue, and I can read the hieroglyphs, and I'm going, well, that's not what it says on the statue. So it just.
I have to say, when I heard that, I just shouted at the television.
But Jill, that's good. Now they got you. Now you're going to stick around. That's good TV viewing by you. You're going to stick around and watch the show.
Exactly. And you know, Jill, we've got inside TVs. We have a secret camera, and we watch the reaction, so we know how to do.
Oh dear. Well, it's funny you should say that, because a friend of mine, his aunt, now he's nearly 90 now, and his aunt wouldn't get undressed in front of the TV. And when they said goodnight, she'd always have to say goodnight back.
That's funny.
Next question.
Okay, Jill, I have a question. I came in a little bit late today, so I have a little bit of catching up on the first part of the interview, but the second part that I came in at like the most magical moment when, Curtis, you were mentioning Om Seti, because like she's my girl. So between Curtis and I, we'll fill you all in on her.
Please do.
She's amazing. But so I apologize if someone has already asked this, but I'm very, very intrigued by the sign behind you. Did you guys already talk about that? And I just need to catch up on it.
We did a little bit, and no, but it's okay. I'll give you the basic rundown, which is I'm renting an apartment. So I did not write that, but I kind of really like it. So it says, tonight I will dream about, and then it has family, CrossFit, travel, a friend of mine, and then real sleep, is what it says. So
I love that.
Yeah, I think you, and it's one of those erasable boards. So if you like, I can, what would you like me to put? I can erase one and I'll give you one spot. What would you like me to write on there?
Oh, wow.
Tonight, what will you dream about? That's the question.
What I will dream about being in Egypt.
Okay, I'll write it now. Hang on.
Yes. Thank you so much. You know, they used to go to the temple to have dreams. So that's why I was kind of intrigued by the sign. That would have been cool if they had that in the temple. Like, what do you want to dream about tonight? And then Hathor and Isis can come to you in your dream. And
exactly, it's manifesting. Yeah.
Yes, manifesting. I love that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Dream delivered. Let me know if you get there.
Okay, I will. I'll be in touch.
From Egypt, exactly.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so
Adam,
there's another question.
Hey, Keith.
I have a quick question. Since you were in Florida, actually two. Since you were in Florida, you're not scared of the mosquitoes?
Keith, don't get me started. I used to think I was not a mosquito man, that they wouldn't come get me, and being in Florida has changed that. They like me just the same, so they are coming for me. Don't get they're here.
Well. Okay, got it. So another question: any recent documentaries on the Spanish treasure fleet, 1750, or the Tocha, 1622?
Yeah, I saw the question. Nothing as far as I'm involved with individually, and I'm not sure about the Smithsonian. I really don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, most of the documentaries are fairly old at this point, and no new information came out.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I wish I had an answer for you.
Well, I'm going to have
Actually,
to kind of catch up on some of your shows right now.
please do, please do. Neither of those topics are covered, but there are 30 others that are.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Keith.
I found them on YouTube. There's a YouTube channel called DocuWiki, and they have a whole bunch of, not all of them, only the Egyptology related ones.
Those are usually the most popular ones, I would imagine.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'll give the opportunity for one more question, if we haven't talked everybody out. Derek?
No, I'm happy because it's all these different experiences you have, and interviews bring them out so well. Attitudes and thoughts, which are you're comparing them with, and as Jill brought up, the fact that the people, oh dear, that they hadn't known the difference between the two Ramesses. It's and it clicks, doesn't it? Something clicks in you, and you start curiosity again. Because now, how long was it? When did it? Where did it? It sets you on another train of thought. Where and it's one of these great things. Being older, you have the leisure to go and explore these things, because suddenly you must find out why, and you must find out what. It's and these interviews bring them out, because it stirs something in the back there, and you scratch the back of your memory, really, to bring it forward, to think, now, when did I hear it? When was it? Yes, something like that.
Yeah.
And
well, that's what
Well said. Well said, Derek.
Yeah. Well, I think that we have spoken everybody out of questions tonight. So, Adam, I want to say again, thank you so much. Keep up
My pleasure.
the work.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, and thanks for everybody here in your audience and beyond that will watch this. It's small and mighty groups change the world, right? One straw at a time. A project that I'm working on is a very famous Japanese farmer had this, one straw methodology. So it's not an accident that we're here in a really small, intimate setting talking about amazing things through history. We'll do this. We'll come back again next year, Curtis. We'll have 10 people and 20 people and 40.
Or some of the shoguns of Japan will make a very interesting storyline there.
That is actually true. That's one I didn't bring up. Is I do like the idea of one of my favorite novels was Memoirs of a Geisha. My mother turned me onto it some time ago, and it was just like so
excellent. It's an excellent.
Oh, such a good book. You're just caught in this Hatsumomo world of like what it was like to be a shogun or a geisha around that time. Just wild. So
the beginning is so well written. Excellent.
Yeah. Well, Adam, before we leave,
yes,
I want to try and figure out how to do this. So I think pin in Italian is appunto.
Appunto. That's right.
Let me figure out how to do this, and then we're going to try and do a virtual high five.
Okay, I'm ready.
How do I appunto myself? There we go. Wait, which side are you? Here.
Wait, are you on that side of me?
Wait,
You're on that side, I think.
Set this thing up to do a. No, how?
I think you're on the other side of me.
No, I'm on this side on my screen.
Oh, really? I'm on the other side. That's so weird.
I can never work this out. Okay. All right. 1, 2, 3.
Did it work?
I hope so.
If not, you can hit me up and we'll try it again.
Anyway, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Adam. It's been so much fun.
Thank you.
It's been a great one. Thank you both. And
Thank
the
Thank you.
children and animals, it was W.C. Fields.
Was it W.C. Fields?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
One that seems to come to mind. Yeah.
Well played. Well played, Jill. And just again, thanks, Curtis. Have a great weekend. To be continued. I can't wait to get back to Italy and you'll show me around. And I'm excited to have your fiance be singing around as well.
We'll do a whole thing. Yeah.
Looking forward. Looking forward.
Anyway, you keep well, Adam. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye. Buonanotte.
Bye.
Buonanotte. Ciao.
Yeah, not doing too bad, thanks.
No, it's just a grey day here in London. Yeah,
But it is that, yeah.
Well, you're in London, Derek?
yeah.
All right.
Just outside of London, sort of southwest.
Very cool.
Just up the road from me.
Halfway to Gatwick, near Epsom, where they run the GGs.
Oh, okay.
And near Wimbledon, where they play the tennis.
Oh, beautiful.
Do you know that Adam has this thing at 1 o'clock?
That's my mother. See?
Yeah, I'm calling Tara. I am. I love
Thanks,
you.
Mom. She's
Okay, bye.
Your diary.
that's my mother there as Fran, and my dad is Tom.
Cheers, cheers, everyone. Cheers. Hi.
Hi, Mom. Good seeing you.
Hi, Fran and Tom.
Hi.
Is she the momager?
Yes.
Is she what?
The momager.
The momager.
Momager. That's right. And here comes Tommy back from his day of golf, morning of golf, I believe. Curtis, when I read your bio, I put this in my post. I said a South African, Egyptologist moving to Italy and engaged to an opera singer. I was like, this is my guy. I love this guy. Why have I not hung out with him more? So you're checking a lot of boxes on people that I want to hang out with. It's awesome. So cool. It's like all of my dreams wrapped into one phone call, one Zoom.
Yeah, well, I thank you. When I was doing my research on you, I saw some pictures of you like performing. Do you sing?
I do. Yeah. I mean, that's previous. And here comes my sister joining. So it's a family affair. We grew up singing and, kind of going to church and all that stuff. And then when I got to college, I started singing probably a little bit more regularly in musicals in college. Yeah. And then after that, I just started doing it out of college, and the rest is history. Took voice lessons, learned what to do, what not to do, how to project. And then that comes across when you're doing hosting. And of course, then it's, better for presentation and all that good stuff. So
exactly. And it helps with your Broadway shows and all of that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I am very appreciative of anybody who can sing, because I cannot. So
well, look, Curtis, there's one thing I think we found that maybe you can't do. It seems like everything else you're knocking out of the ballpark. So
I try. Thank you.
Or maybe even for Derek, maybe out of the cricket stadium. I don't know, at ballpark lands for the British audience.
No, I was a choir boy for many years, and I loved. We used to high church, and we used to sing Marbeck every Sunday, and at Easter it was Stainless Crucifixion and all that. But unfortunately, later in life, I kept my voice, but later in life, I had a backtracking abscess, and I had to pull my gums back and cut a hole in the top of my palate. The bone never healed, so I lost my voice. I lost my resonance. So
got it.
And I used to love singing, yes, all the time. Now it's gone.
Derek, by the end of this call, we'll all sing a song together for you. How's that? You pick it.
I'll hum. Okay.
Exactly.
I'll join you, Curtis.
I once got bribed with wine to leave the karaoke because I was so bad, but I love to sing. Here, have a bottle of wine, now leave.
I did sing once, which is sort of public, in one of the documentaries in Egypt Through the Ages, part 4. We needed a track which was like this, Mesopotamian warbling kind of track, and we couldn't find the one that we were looking for. So I ended up singing that. So we just put a lot of like echoes and reverbs, and it sounded great.
Just like every other pop singer, you're right on board.
Exactly. Just I need the auto tune.
Exactly.
So I see we have quite a few people who have joined. I'm going to give them like 2 minutes or so, if that's okay.
That's great.
Just
Yeah.
everybody get on.
We're on ancient Egyptian time. It's a little bit
Yep.
delayed.
You don't want to be on like South African time. It's like
South African time. I can't wait for those questions. One of my favorite places.
exactly. Do you know the saying now?
Oh yeah, I have a whole comedy bit on that.
Yeah. So we'll get to that now.
We'll get to that now. Got it.
The others are like, what the hell is this guy talking about?
Right.
All right.